What if the last message you ever received wasn't a warning, but a love letter? Today we're going to dive into a really profound piece of writing that claims to be exactly that, a text known simply as Message 12.
Right out of the gate, it doesn't ease you in. It starts with this incredibly definitive statement. This isn't just another chapter, it's being presented as the conclusion, the final word. And that immediately makes you lean in because it frames everything that follows as absolutely essential.
And then, just as you're processing that finality, the tone completely flips. It shifts from being authoritative to being deeply, deeply intimate. It establishes that this final word isn't a lecture at all, but a declaration of love from a maternal source, like a creator speaking directly to its creation.
So, that sets up the core theme for our first section here. We're looking at this text as a mother's final message. It's really a call to see the world and maybe our place in it a little differently.
You know, the first instruction here isn't some complex, heavy task. It's actually a really simple act of reconnection. It suggests that before we can even begin to understand ourselves, we first have to learn to listen to the world around us. That nature itself is always communicating. If we just pay attention.
Okay, so if listening to nature is the first step, you have to ask, what's the problem it's trying to solve? Well, the message diagnoses the human condition with this really powerful metaphor. We are skimming the ocean of our own lives.
So what does that even mean, to skim the surface? According to this text, it means we're all just living in the shallows. You know, we're experiencing just a tiny fraction of what's possible because we're disconnected from the profound depths of our own being.
And the stakes of this choice are laid out in this really stark contrast. Life on the surface? It's defined by darkness and separation, by anger and by pain. But the depths of the ocean? Well, that holds something else entirely. Love, oneness, and what the message calls our true nature. So the choice isn't just about what you experience, it's about who you really are.
This brings us to the prescription that comes right after the diagnosis. The advice isn't complicated or abstract. It's this simple, almost physical command: get wet. Dive in. Go and discover the ocean of love that's just waiting for you beneath that turbulent surface.
And then we're hit with this incredibly powerful and personal question. What have you got to lose? Seriously, according to the message, the only things you stand to lose are your anger and your pain. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
So if all we have to lose is our pain, how do we actually do it? Well, the message proposes a solution that's rooted in a single powerful idea: the simplicity of oneness. The path forward is broken down into these really accessible steps. It's not about some complex rituals or doctrines. It's just pay attention, look inward, and make conscious choices for simplicity and kindness in your life. Kind of like a newborn child who has absolutely nothing to prove to anyone.
This is such a central theme, and it's one that's been echoed by spiritual teachers throughout history. So often, we search for peace in our circumstances, right? In our relationships or what we've achieved. But this message just gently reminds us that we've been looking in all the wrong places. Peace is, and has always been, an inside job.
This whole inner journey leads to a state of being that's just captured perfectly right here, a contentment so deep that you have nothing to lose. And this freedom isn't something you have to earn. It's simply met with this incredible assurance of unconditional love, completely free from any judgment.
But this path of inner peace isn't just an individual journey. The message then zooms way out, suggesting that this personal choice is part of a much, much larger story, a great awakening for all of humanity. So this frames our entire era as a historic turning point. After millennia that have been dominated by what it calls darkness and separation, a fundamental shift is happening. A new sun is rising, and it's powered by millions of individuals who are all starting to wake up.
But here's the thing. This great awakening isn't some passive event that we just wait for. The message places the power and the responsibility squarely on the individual. The engine of this whole global change is personal choice. Peace on earth, self-transformation, it all begins with only you.
So, if the power for change really rests with each of us, then what's our role in this story? Well, the final section makes it crystal clear. You aren't just an observer. You are the main character.
And to drive this point home, the message introduces one last brilliant metaphor. Life is a movie. And humanity's story, well, it's not in its opening act.
It's a drama that's reaching its climax, where the tension is high and the outcome is still totally uncertain.
And this is the line that brings it all home. It's stated so directly, with absolutely no ambiguity. This grand cosmic drama, this movie of humanity, you are its star. Your journey, your choices, that's what the whole story is all about.
The core mechanic of this movie is our own free will. Our choices don't just affect the plot, they directly determine the ending. In this story, you're not just the actor reading lines, you are also the scriptwriter.
And so, it all comes down to this. This is the ultimate question that the message poses to us. Given that you are the main character and your choices write the ending, what role will you choose to play in this pivotal moment? The message doesn't end with some grand finale or a list of rules. It just ends with this gentle invitation to reflect, and a final, reassuring promise of love and support. It's a quiet, powerful reminder that no matter what role you choose, you are not alone on this journey.